welcome back to Now for Wrath Gaming. Pretty quick video today. I'm going to do some pretty light video editing because, in light of all the news that's happened recently, Andrew and I had an entire episode of Now for Chats where we were speculating on new edition stuff, and then that second announcement came out right as I was about done editing, and we kind of just had to toss it because it was all irrelevant. And at this point, there's enough content creators sharing their thoughts and opinions, so we decided we would just hold off. But we are so excited about the new edition. It's going to be awesome. I'm here for it. Obviously, there's like a little bit of trepidation, but for the most part, very excited. Anyways, that is not the point of the video today. Today, I am playing in a 500-point no-named hero tournament right here in Richmond, Virginia at Battlegrounds, which is my local game store. It's a little more local to Andrew, but still, it's our local game store. Unfortunately, Andrew can't make it today. He's decided that, you know, real life is more important than MESBG tournaments for whatever reason, so dumb. So anyways, this is going to be really exciting. Our friend Chris is hosting it. It's a great idea. Your hero gets 1 additional point of might, which I think is pretty sweet. So I think there's a lot of really cool, interesting, nasty combinations you could come up with for that. But I decided not to do that. I'm playing Khazad Dum. And one of the battle reports you've seen me testing, they got smashed. There's another video that I think this will come out before that. I was also testing for this tournament and lost it in a close one. So at this point, with this new Khazad Dum army I've been painting, I'm 0 wins. So naturally I thought, well, this is the time to take it. So we'll see what happens. Frankly, I felt like last 2 tournaments did very well. I'm ready to play a kind of fun, off-meta list. I'm not trying to smash anyone here. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's day. I just want to play some dwarves that, frankly, are like maybe my favorite painted minis I've yet done for this range. So I'm kind of excited to show them off. They're finally at a point where I can play. I've got enough points to put them on the table. So without further ado, my list briefly. My leader is a King's Champion group. I went back and forth on the Dwarf King. I think the Dwarf King is an awesome value, but having my leader able to strike, being, you know, he's 2 might, but again, the leader gets an extra point of might. Having 3 might on the King's Champ, I think, is just pretty awesome, so I wanted him to be my leader. In his warband, I have 3 Vault Warden teams, and then I have 3 Dwarf Rangers with dwarf longbows and throwing axes, so give me a little bit of ranged options. Then I have a Dwarf Captain. Now, I actually did not take a shield on my Dwarf Captain, which I know is a little weird. This is frankly because I don't have the model, and you'll find out why in a second. So, yeah, I took a bare bones Dwarf Captain. In his warband, I have 3 Hearthguard, and I have 3 Dwarf Warriors with Dwarf Bows. So I kind of like that mix of 3 Strength 3 bows and 3 Strength 2 bows, plus the Rangers have the throwing axes. So 6 bows in all, which is not horrible. It's not amazing. So that's his warband. And then I also brought a shield bearer. Now, that's a weird choice. I know a lot of people don't necessarily love it. I frankly felt like at low points, having a free combat each turn to have a chance at killing 1, maybe even 2 extra models if he can get in with the King's Champion group is pretty nice. Most armies are going to have mid-20s models tops, so even killing 2 or 3 extra without spending might is a big boon. But secondly, in both of the games I've played with them so far, courage was a real issue. And I actually was thinking about it, and I think Ring Wraith is just an amazing purchase at this tournament format. So I'm really scared of running into terror. And I've only got the 3 Hearthguard to... Sorry, Khazad Guard. I've been calling them Hearthguard. They're Khazad Guard. I'm really scared of running into terror and not being able to do what I want. So re-rolling courage checks is like really beneficial to me at this format. So I'm excited to try out the shield bearer. I have only 1 model with a big shield, so either that's going to be a captain with a shield or the shield bearer. Today that's going to be a shield bearer, which is why I had to use a different model for my captain. So yeah, that's it. That's the army. I'm 500 on the nose. I'm 26 models. I'm 6 total might, 3 on the King's Champ because he gets that bonus, 2 on the captain, and then 1 on the shield bearer. I don't know what scenarios we're going to play, but they're pre-chosen. It's not veto, which I'm thankful for. That'll be fun. Obviously, dwarves are very matchup scenario dependent. I mean, the lack of cavalry, the slow movement, it really hurts, but hey, we'll see what we do. It'll be fun. So I'll report in with the results here shortly. Hey, all right. Well, I am on my way out of the tournament now. I know for you it feels like a mere moment, but for me it is hours later, so I'm pretty sure we went over the tournament format, how it was no named heroes, 500 points, bonus might for your leader, and it was an absolutely awesome time, man. Huge shout out to our friend Chris who ran this. This has been his brainchild. He has been thinking about it for a while, and I gotta say I absolutely adored the format, so I hope he does this again, because I think no named heroes was absolutely super fun. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into my game. So, it was Khazad Dum, you know. Things went like how I would expect. Now, there are 18 players. I was surprised to see 2 other Khazad Dum players, plus the ringer was Khazad Dum, so that was pretty cool. There were, however, 9 out of 18 Mordor lists. Although there was some variety, including a triple no-name Ringwraith Fell Beast list. That was all they were, 3 models, so that was pretty cool to see. A lot of Morannons. Well, yeah, a lot of Morannons, but also Black Numenorians, and a lot of budget Ringwraiths, as you'd expect. But I didn't face any of those. So, without further ado, my game 1 was really fun. I played against Mike, and the game we played was Hold Ground. These were predetermined, so there was no veto. So Chris had us do a Hold Ground. Chris? No, it was fine. Now, Mike was running Moria. He had 2 Goblin Captains. 1 had a shield, 1 didn't. 2 Cave Drakes, which is genius, and 25 Goblins, spears and shields, so no bows. I actually rolled, I lost the priority for turn 1, which means I had to go first, but my army managed to stay together. I think I spent 1 point of might, but my army came in on a corner and kind of stayed together. And then one of his Cave Drakes, I got to pick, and it came on kind of swamped. I managed, like, he came on in the middle of my army. Yeah. We had, there was a minor question about, he kind of, there wasn't a 1-inch cushion for my models, so we were unclear. The base could fit, but there was a 1-inch gap, or there wasn't a 1-inch gap between a couple of the models. So we weren't sure if he could come on. Chris ruled that he could. I would like, we were all like kind of wanting to look that up, but hey, you know, the TO made a call, so the Cave Drake came on and got absolutely surrounded and pounced. You can probably see that picture right now. The King's Champ got in, struck, and right off the bat, you know, turn 2, dead Cave Drake. So I'm like, okay, this is going pretty good. The rest of his army rolled pretty well on Maelstrom overall and kind of came in together. And his Cave Drake being 8 inches, I got to place him, but I placed him a little further away, and it was now just like racing forward. In hindsight, I kind of wish I would have put it closer to me and tried to just kill them both, but I didn't. So this was Hold Ground, so he swarmed the middle as you do with goblins. And, you know, frankly, we got into fights, but he got there first because I spent a turn kind of killing that Cave Drake. I mean, I had like 36 dice or something stupid on it. And so he got there first and was able to do what you're supposed to do, which is kind of push past it, of course. And we got in, we battled, we tried our best to tear through goblins, and in the end, you know, we needed 1, maybe even 2 more turns to get a sufficient amount of dwarves on the objective. I was, I believe, 2 kills away from breaking him, so I couldn't quite get the 3 points for breaking him. And actually, I think 2 more kills might have swung it pretty nicely, maybe towards a draw, but maybe not, because I would have got the 3 points, and I don't think he would have doubled me anymore. So I think it would have been a 3-3 if I had managed to get these 2 kills. I was not rolling wounds, but, you know, hey, overall, he played it really smart. I don't think I made any major mistakes. I do think eliminating the threat of one of the 2 Cave Drakes at the cost of a turn was probably pretty sweet. His other Cave Drake tore me up, so fighting 2 of those at the same time would have been really nasty. So I do think overall I made the right call there, even though that may have cost me the game. I think had a couple of combats gone my way, or I didn't call a march. I did use all my might for moves to try to tie up the Cave Drake so it wasn't getting its charge. But yeah, you know, I think a couple of dice different and maybe an extra turn, maybe two, I could have at least had a better spot. But as it was, I didn't break him. Neither of our leaders wound up hurt. So it was a 0-5 to Moria. So he had 5 points for having just more than double my guys. I think he had 14 or 15 and I had 6. So yeah, something like that. So that was game one. So coming out of that on a major loss, no big deal. That's what, that's how we roll. And I will say it was a really fun game again. Mike was awesome to play with. We'll hopefully get a chance to play with him again. So my second game was against Terry, and he was one of my aforementioned other 3 Khazad Dum players. So kind of cool. We decided this was a rebellion because he had a king, and I had a king's champion, but no king. So the king's champion was the bad guy, so I went evil. This was a rebellion. We were the uprising. And yeah, he had a king's champ. Oh, sorry, he had a king and 2 shield bearers. By the way, I gotta say, I took a shield bearer. Awesome in my first game. Getting to reroll terror, fantastic. Calling heroic combats. He only probably succeeded 2 or 3 times on heroic combats, but Mike kept throwing resources at him to tie him up to make it harder to do a heroic combat. So he survived. Awesome. So in this last game, 3 shield bearers on the table, which is kind of cool. So Terry had 2, I had the 1. And then my captain as well. So the second scenario was Contest of Champions. Now, the King's Champion is pretty uniquely suited to be awesome at that scenario, and he was. He wound up killing 8 of Terry's 27 dwarves himself, and then I had Vault Warden teams, and Terry didn't. Terry had a lot more Khazad Guard, but Vault Warden teams kind of trumped Khazad Guard pretty hard, and there was terrain for me to wedge into. You'll see the picture there. So Terry just really couldn't crack through my front line, frankly. And he kind of flanked me in 2 different ways, but his one flank was a lot of dwarf warriors with bow. So their defense is 6, and I had Khazad Guard over there on 4s, so we kind of ate that flanking maneuver up and then kind of shifted around to get the other one. So in the end, my dwarf champion, or my king's champion did manage to get into his king and struck, and he was surrounded, and the king's champ got the kill. So that, plus having 8 kills from the king's champion himself, one of which I think was the king, or maybe I didn't even note that. It might have been 9 kills, I forget now. It was a 12-0. So this was a bloody, brutal civil war, and there's a whole new dwarf regime now as a result. Military coup. It was a good game. Terry's really fun to play with. I will say, as I have seen with Khazad Dum in the past, by the way, this is my first time winning with Khazad Dum, which is kind of fun. 5th game, first win. He was rolling like 2 highs across the board, like every fight. He'd have like 3 guys on one of my dwarves with an archer, and I'd roll the 6, and he'd roll 2, like all 2s. So his dice were a little rough, but in the end, the King's Champ did King's Champ things, and we managed the 12-0. So we're now one major loss, 1 major win. Going into the 3rd round, I was playing against our friend Chris Hobart, who runs a lot of tournaments around here, and he was running Serpent Horde and Farharad. He had a Mahud King was his champion, which is nice because he can strike. He was on a camel, of course. He had 2 camel riders, and then he also had a Haradrim chieftain, as well as a taskmaster from the Serpent Horde list. He had 3 trolls, 2 cavalry, the Serpent Riders, as well as 2 camels, and then just a smattering of stuff. He had 30 models, which is quite a lot. But, crucially, a lot of his stuff is D4, and when you're strength 4 re-rolling 1s, if I win a fight, I'm killing stuff. Conversely, I'm like D6 minimum, D7 in a lot of places, and D9 with my Vault Warden team. So, frankly, his maneuverability, I didn't mention the mission. The mission was capture and control, so where you're running around grabbing objectives. And early on, kind of grabbed like 4 of the 6 objectives. 4 of the 5 objectives, excuse me. And I couldn't tear through because he had so many bodies, but I was just slaying stuff. I was killing stuff left and right. I think his trolls got 1 kill, and then they all kind of ate it. And then, so towards the end of the game, I broke him, and his stuff was kind of running in droves, but now we're rolling. And I'm out of position, and I'm slow. So I'm not getting to the objectives I need to get to. And Chris is smart. He knows what he's doing. He's moving guys to block my movement and everything. So the way the game worked is, after the turn he broke, Had the game ended that turn, the turn he was considered broken, he would have crushed me, I think 8-4. Had it won the second turn, I was able to eke out a draw, which I did do, and this is when the game ended. And had it gone one more turn, he only had 2 models left, and I was in movement distance of every single objective. So it could have been an 8-4. It wound up being a 6-6 draw, but literally, had he rolled a 3 up to see if the game went on, it would have definitely been a 12-0 because he was tabled. There was only 2 guys left on the board. So yeah, it was a great game. Honestly, it was really fun. I was killing a lot more than him, but it's a constant reminder that the game isn't about just killing, and I just couldn't get to the objectives the way I needed to. I really shut down his camel riders. I think they did get 1 kill from impact hits, and that was his Mahood King. But my King's Champion and my captains and judicious use of might and a couple of cheeky heroic combats from the Shield Bearer, and also letting me reroll terror checks against his trolls was pretty awesome. The Shield Bearer didn't do a lot of heroic combats that turn because he wound up going a different direction than the King's Champion. Of course, you got to be within 3 inches and you got to move towards him and all that. So, yeah, it could have worked, and it was working. I think I needed to make it happen 1 turn earlier, but it was an awesome game. So in the end, I went 1-1-1, and I guess I couldn't really be happier with that. Our friend Victor won. He was first place, and he was running a Mordor list. I think he had 2 unnamed wraiths, which is very smart. I totally can see why that would absolutely wreck today. Second place, I forget now. I have a horrible memory, and I was packing up as we were doing the announcements. But it was also a Mordor list, and I don't recall who got third. I'll say something in the description or in the comments when I remember. But so that's it. I don't know my placing, but with 1-1-1, I'm probably right in the middle, of course, as you'd expect. And I kind of enjoyed it. You know, I don't think Khazad Dum is terribly competitive, but this was probably the format to do it, right? Like, no named heroes, so the King's Champ is kind of the best out there. The Shield Bearer was absolutely fantastic because a lot of people were like, hey, without named heroes, terror is a bigger problem because it's a lot of the named heroes that give things like Fearless. So there was a lot of terror. I mean, I would guess that 10 or 11 of the armies today had terror in them in some capacity. So the Shield Bearer was a good, smart investment for me. That's it. Hey, thank you for watching. This has been a lot of fun. Please, let me know in the comments what you think you would have done differently with my dwarf list, because it was a little Vault Warden and kind of elite guy heavy. It's what I have painted right now, but I just love the way they look. I'm so happy with how the paint jobs have turned out. I just had to get them on the table. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you all for hanging around. We're so close to 1,000, so if you haven't, please like and subscribe. We would really, really appreciate that, and we promise to do you right. We'll treat you right. You know, we'll be your pals.